Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brady Grove with Rotoballer's official MMA podcast. Tap that. Had a little bit of a hiatus lately with school and some schedule conflicts with Daniel, but leading up to this UFC pay-per-view weekend, we have a very special interlude episode of Tap That. And we're going in a different direction than we usually, but this is I'm extremely excited for this. I don't get to talk about I don't get to talk about battle rap much. But with me today, very special guest, JN88, A.K.A. Relay of Cypher Clique. Jay, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Can't complain. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. So before we get into a little bit of background, let me so I had a couple drives to and from Columbus, Ohio, from Central Kentucky over the past few weeks, and I'd say I consumed about I listened to about 3 to 4 hours of Cypher Click in that time. Uh, I'm glad I got to sample a lot of what there was on Spotify. But so do you the Cypher Click, if you will, for folks who may not know, can you give us a little bit of background where you guys are from, and who the other founding members are, and then we can get started talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cypher Clique started 2007 in Dover, Delaware. I had equipment because I was first started rapping out of a group about say 3 years, 2 3 years before everybody. So I started making CDs like out of my equipment that I had. I just had like a regular Dell computer. I had a microphone and it had like the condenser thing that goes in front of it. Uh, so I just invited some friends over who were interested in rapping. So I asked at a mutual friend's party, hey, I have some studio equipment. You guys want to come over and just record music? And I just did that. Just had like a little meeting. At first, it was 9 of us, but after about a year and a half, people started lives. Things started happening. Some people went away to school. Some people just stopped rapping, and the three of us stayed, which is my brother James Major and my boy Mike. So it became a trio officially in 2009, and then from there we just started making more local mixtapes for the high school and colleges. Then in 2010, our first big break, quote unquote, happened. We opened up for Mac Miller, and then we opened up for him again in 2011 in Pennsylvania. And I started a slew of opening act shows that we did. So we were on like an opening act run for a while. We did shows with A$AP Rocky, New Boys, Action Bronson. I'm trying to think some other names. This later down the line, did Tory Lanez, KRS-One, Rakim. So it's a lot of acts we opened up. And we also did a Firefly Music Festival. We were the first group in the state, hip hop group in the state, to do Firefly Music Festival. And the headliner was actually Paul McCartney from the Beatles. Yeah, so it was a pretty big deal. Kid Cudi was also on the bill. Logic, Lizzo. Lizzo was unknown at the time, but Lizzo was on there. So it was a good experience. We did a few hip hop festivals, A3C in Atlanta. So we were official acts for that festival for 2016 and 2014, 16, and 18. And we just been doing shows here and there, making music. So, yeah.
So, and do you still are you still mainly in Dover, Delaware?
Yes, we're all still in Delaware. I moved to New York for a little bit, for a few years, but I still came back to Delaware to record. But when I moved, luckily, well, not luckily, but when I moved there, like a few months later, COVID happened. So everything was kind of slow. So I was able to like still go back to Delaware. It's only like a 2.5 hour drive and record with the group. And I recently I moved back to Delaware a few months ago. So we're all based there.
So we talked a few times online about the hip hop cultures that arise in different pockets, and the one that did rise up in Dover, Delaware. Um, so it's like, what do you tend to notice in a place that has a burgeoning hip hop scene, both from the cultural side and from the business side, what tends to, be some of the after effects of that? What do you tend to see follow?
Well, in Delaware, you pretty much have to do it yourself. It's not like record labels or anything of that nature. The closest ones are like, of course, like in New York, as far as major record labels. So you really have to know your business and pretty much do everything independent. As far as this goes with us, everything we do is in house. We handle videography, editing. So as of I say like 2000 and as of like June 2021, June 2021, we don't have to go to anybody to get anything done. We pretty much handle everything ourselves, mixing, recording, mastering, videos, graphics. Um, so it's been a blessing. So we've been able to like just invest in ourselves. That's the best thing to do. Just invest in yourself, learn the ins and outs of business, watch seminars, ask people who actually have a legit resume in music, just asking for tips and things of that nature, and they can give you tips and you can build off that. So that's what I learned.
Yeah, and it's gotta help. I mean, like just like for college athletes that we're seeing now, and across the board of many industries, this is the easiest time in human history to handle things independently. With as
Absolutely.
many resources and platforms that there are.
Mhm.
Um, So you mentioned Mac Miller. I got to see him on the tour where he opened up immediately for Wiz, and like
Okay.
Kendrick and Schoolboy were right before that. And it's like Wiz had the main billing, so the end of the show was a huge production. But what like really struck me about Mac's performance was that he's a guy that seems that like he could captivate an audience, whether it was you know the co-main event essentially, and the lights had really turned down for the night, and the production level wasn't as fantastic as it was at the end, or he could rock the production value that Wiz had on that tour. He seemed like a guy that could handle audiences of both types. I don't know, like did you did, what do you think is the difference between those two? I mean, what do you think is the difference as a performer and having to you know navigate different size crowds, and crowds that are sometimes there for different reasons, like a show that you're playing locally, or at a festival, where people's prerogatives might be different.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. At festivals, it's much easier to get the crowd to participate because they're just there to hear music and no matter what it is. So you'll have to do less, quote unquote, less work as far as making the crowd amped for your performance. So to say, like, if you're opening up for a act, because earlier in our career, we opened up, we just wanted to get like our voices heard and our music heard. So we'll be placed on hip hop bills, but they won't fit our sound. So it's like they're paying attention, but they're just like looking at you, just trying to, I guess, show support in a way, but not be rude. So I guess it all when you're booking shows and everything like that, it's best to base it on the type of music you make. Like for example, with the KRS One and the Rakim show that we had, their audience is like similar to our sound too. So when we play, they're more receptive. They follow back. They buy merch and everything like that. But when you're placed on another hip hop show and they're the type of hip hop music that they make is not what you make, it's kind of like an uphill battle. Like they'll be supportive and they'll look, but it's not like the crowd participation. You really have to fight for it. So um, yeah, it all depends on the type of vibe that the artist that you're opening up for has.
Okay, I see what you're saying. And so like I don't know, if you had to pick, if you had to like come up with someone who's, if you were gonna be on the bill with them, whose sound would, it would with one collective audience, produce the best experience. What do you think that would sound like?
Um, I say the sound would be like Tribe Called Quest type. Uh, I think Tribe Called Quest would definitely fit our sound. If I would say something new, Tribe Called Quest or J. Cole or like Sir Michael Rocks or the Cool Kids. I'll say those three types of hip hop, those sounds will definitely fit.
I get that too, because like the same, because I was listening to a lot of your music at night, driving in like the barren like wasteland of southern to mid Ohio,
Yeah,
and and it gave me like a really similar feeling as driving to Midnight Marauders.
yeah,
It was a very and but another thing I noticed now to get into kind of the substance of your music is from verse to verse and each chorus, each hook, they all sound just a little bit different to the same degree of a lot of other stuff I've heard. Like there's a lot of this stuff, a lot of your guys' music makes me feel similar. Like it can, like the feeling reminds me of certain artists or certain albums, but it's really hard to put your finger on.
yeah. We've been getting that a lot. Like our sound is reminiscent of like the older hip hop, but we have like our own twist to it, so to say. So that's I guess that's a benefit because we can't really get boxed in into different like categories because when we first started, like everybody was like saying, you guys sound just like a Tribe Called Quest, or you guys remind me of like the Young Locks, or like they'll pigeonhole us into a certain type of genre because the beats that we rapped on is like literally like a younger version of Tribe. So we had to go ahead and switch our like beats up and add like a melodic hook because Mikey does like the hooks mostly and it's like melodic. So we had to add some type of twist to
Yeah, it is super melodic. And like I told my fiance, I was like, this goes from like reminding me of the best parts of Man on the Moon to like reminding me of like a Wiz Khalifa summer jam to like making me feel the like chill at the very beginning of Cream.
it.
I don't know that, and that
It's
can
dope.
that could be super off, but I
Yeah.
I think the point is like it's hard to identify, and it's hard to find people nowadays that it's hard to place in a box because for so long we had rappers coming up in different waves. The SoundCloud generation. There were a lot of similar sounds, and while they were different, they all sounded different together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, so one of the artists you guys have worked with a decent amount is Mickey Fax. And I just got done rewatching Mickey Fax versus Daylight. Uh,
Mm.
and so to get into a little bit of battle rap, it's kind of similar. I mean, it's really similar to MMA. It is the most comparable art form I can find to, one-on-one combat sports. And, one of the biggest things is take this back 10, 15 years. Would you have ever imagined that it would be at this level and at this level of mass marketability?
Not to this magnitude. I pretty much figured it would grow to like venues, but to have it like the way it is now, having like even industry people trying to get into it also, by even starting their own leagues and industry people actually battling. I didn't see that coming, at least this quick at least. So it's been growing faster than I thought it would.
I don't know, like if you had to, try to pinpoint something, what would you say was one of the, I mean, catalysts of, the huge explosion and the exposure that battle rap was getting?
I would say Summer Madness 2. Um, More likely, yeah, Summer Madness 2. When they had the sponsors and they brought the legends like Iron Solomon, Lux, Murder Mook. I would say that was the high point of battle rap where it had more industry eyes on it.
Yeah, I mean, and you started to get appearances by Drake at hosting a, I forget what King of the Dot event that was. Was that a Blackout 2?
Yeah, it was a blackout event. Yeah.
And you got Drake, who really gave some heavy promotion to URL over the past few years. You've
Hmm.
got established rappers like Mickey Fax, like Mad Child, like Cassidy. Um, And then you got people that are hard to put into a category. These are the disasters, the math hoffas, the people, the daylights, the Sharones, the holiday dons that became celebrities of battle rap, uniquely. They became fixtures on their own. And what do you think is like the most um what do you think is the greatest common denominator between the guys that were able to become celebrities, purely out of being battle rappers, for the most part?
I'll say the common denominator is that they just have like the star power. I guess their delivery they're funny because as far as the stars in battle rap, like I'll put Conceited as an example.
Yeah.
He actually got picked up by Nick Cannon after his I think his T-Rex battle or Sue Surf battle, and Nick Cannon liked how he controlled the crowd, like of a large magnitude, because he added jokes with it, and I guess Nick Cannon liked him and picked him up. And same with Charlie Clips. Charlie Clips, he's skilled at rebuttaling and he's naturally funny. So it all depends on how the battler can react with the crowd and how they pretty much how they have that chemistry. The crowd and the battle have the chemistry. So that's the most important thing as far as the star is concerned within battle rap.
It's funny how much Wild and Out like has brought some of those guys to the forefront. I mean, am I wrong? Carter Deems is on there occasionally.
Yeah, I think I seen Carter Deems on there a couple times. Hitman Holland's on there. Sharon, he's on there.
That's what I'll
So
say.
yeah, a few guys.
When Nick Cannon released all those Eminem diss tracks, which was a spectacle all its own. But I still enjoyed like the Hitman Holla and Conceited verses in those songs. And part of that is just like from watching their battles, and
Yeah.
it still like rings so true to like their style.
Mhm.
Um, but so that's another thing. I think that like in listening to Cypher Clique music, I think that like people who maybe aren't as familiar with battle rap wouldn't pick up on. But I think like you can tell the influence of battle rap on some of your guys' music.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
we watch it.
like how would you describe that?
Um, as far as the group is concerned, I'm the more heavy battle rap watcher. I don't everybody. My brother, he's a casual battle rap fan, but we have like the Smack DVDs and everything, so he'll watch the DVDs. But as far as being like tapped into the culture on like everything, out of the group, I'll say it's me. The other two are like casual battle rap fans, but they know like the battle rap names and all that stuff. But I'm the more like diehard watcher out of all of them.
Well, I also mean like, in your lyrics, there's
Okay.
a heavy use of metaphors and similes. There's punchlines. I laugh at, a lot of the things you guys say. In terms of that.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I like to be like witty and everything like that, so I like to incorporate that inside the rhymes and everything. So I definitely get that from the culture. So
So
yeah, that's a good thing.
yeah, it's just interesting because you don't realize that you don't get that with certain artists until you hear it in you know music that you can tell has an ounce of that peppered in, and it's like, okay, I see here. It's like there's some schemes like in these lyrics, and there's wordplay, a focus on wordplay. I think is the biggest difference.
Yeah, for the most part, I like to use like wordplay, um, chain punch here and there, but all depends on the song. And yeah, wordplay and chain punch for the most part.
It's like it's interesting that battle rap is experiencing such successful times right now. Because culturally, it's a time when a lot of the things that people were used to hearing in rap battles are they're seen under a way different light than they used to be. And so as someone who watches a lot of battle, how do you think people have gone about like navigating that? Or has it even made that big of a difference? Because battles don't seem different to watch now, just because there is greater or heightened cultural focus on things that are said.
Um, before that's actually a good thing that you point out because I know back in the days, well, not back in the days, but before there's like a storyline to it, so it was hard to follow. But now you can just pick up and watch. So if people ask me like, "Oh, what battle I should see?" There's plenty of battles where you can just pick up and watch, and you don't have to be like so invested into the storyline. Um, Compared to I say about 7, 8, 9 years ago, there's like a storyline. You have to go online on Twitter to find out what's going on here, there, just to catch up because sometimes they have like angles that you're not going to understand what they're talking about. So now there's more diverse battlers. There's like certain types of battlers who have their own attribute. Like there's punchline battle rappers, so you don't have to invest in the storyline. Like for example, like Mac Myron or Rum Nitty or B Magic, like those guys aren't really that personal or they have angles. They just have bars where anybody can catch it. So there's always that type of battle rapper for each like scenario. So the diversity of the type of battle rapper will make it pretty much easy for anybody to pick up on.
That's interesting. So, like, do you think that, maybe that transition to less of a, because I definitely know what you're talking about, like if you wanted to get into the battle rap world from 2007 to 2012, it took like days of research that you needed just to be caught up to speed of what guys
Mhm.
are going to be talking about. And there was like conflicts and problems between people span years, and you had to know who beat who at Scribble Jam in 2004. Uh,
Yeah.
but now you don't have that as much. Now there does seem to be a focus, more on just, more, if it is personal, it's stuff that you can put together very quickly. And you think that is like improve the quality of the lyrics we're seeing because it seems like the quality is more widespread, from tier to tier.
um, That's actually a good point because I know on Twitter they were talking about that from the last event. Now even though there's more events, which is a good thing. A lot of the leagues are recycling the same battlers, so their content is becoming a little watered down. For example, who's a new battler? Oh, he's not well new. Big T. He literally battled last 2 weeks ago Friday. Then he battled again this past Saturday on an event. So he literally battled twice in 7 days. And usually back in like 2010, 11, 12, there'd be like 3 or 4 battles a year. So when the battles do drop, the battlers have time to prepare and the material is quality, which makes the replay value higher. But now there's so many events and they keep recycling the same battlers. Eventually they're gonna run out of content, is going to be less watered down, which kills the replay value. So even though there's more battle rap is more, it's much more battlers, which is a good thing. They keep recycling the same ones, I guess, for views or viewership in that sense, or things of that nature. So I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. Is they just need to get new battlers on the platform.
Isn't it always a double-edged sword? Any
Yeah.
advance, there's always something on the other side. It's hilarious that you bring up, 3 to 4 battles a year, and someone turned around in 7 days because we're seeing that in MMA too. There used
Mhm.
to be, a handful of UFC pay-per-view events a year. Now there's a UFC event every week, and
Yeah, I've been seeing that. Yeah.
thankfully there's the talent to support that now. And this is where sports and an art form kind of differ in that in sports there will still be I it's hard to I guess it's hard to articulate, but this is where sports and an art form kind of differ. Because sometimes people are just willing to watch bad sports just because it's sports and it's a fair matchup between two not that good of competitors. And in different art forms, that's not always the case. But also it's interesting how, you said that, this kills the replay value, and um, the turnaround of certain guy, and the fact that older material is as usable as it is on a wide scale. It seems like that's a reversal of a problem that there used to be, which was
Hmm.
there wasn't enough stuff on the internet from people, so guys could write bars, in advance of Scribble Jam or the WRCs, and
Yep.
perform them as supposed freestyles. You could steal other people's material, who weren't on YouTube, and put it there. Or, in the Arsenal, Holiday Dawn Fight Club days, it was
Hmm.
just, you could, with a certain amount of volume, without so much content out there, you could get away with recycling a good amount. And then you transfer audiences, and it's like, you've never performed those bars before.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know.
Very true.
It's a very there's always a reversal. It's like with NIL rights in college sports. It's like, yes, this will ultimately make college sports much more fair and profitable, like it always should have been, but like it also kind of eliminates the need for college sports.
Yeah, it does. I see what you're saying now.
um yeah, so here's what are you like much of a like pro sports guy?
Yeah. Football, basketball, baseball. I used to watch baseball like a lot when I was younger, but mostly football and basketball.
So like out of Delaware, like how did you come to decide like what teams you were going to support?
Oh, because I'm originally born in New York, so I
Uh,
was a Giants and Mets fan.
okay, okay, cool. Now the New England market is very interesting to me because like
Hmm.
I mean, it's such a widespread area, and sometimes it's interesting to me, like I wonder, do you think there are people in like other New England states, like say you weren't born in New York, do you think like you would just have like a slightly lessened interest in it?
Um, no, that's not necessarily. I guess it all depends on where I was, because well, if I was born in Delaware, well, in Delaware, the default team that everybody pretty much goes to is the Philadelphia Eagles or the Phillies. So
Huh.
I don't think my location would matter.
Yeah, I often realize how little I know about geography. Like I could not put together like an accurate US map very well. Like I think like Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, I think those are all pretty much in the same spot. Uh
Yeah, they are relatively. Yeah.
but it's like, I'm from Kentucky, like 10 minutes south of Cincinnati. So it's like I'm a Reds and Bengals guy.
Okay.
So it's a big week, but like I've always, I've always been a fan of basketball because college basketball is big here, but I never
Hmm.
really had an NBA team. And then I went to, a couple Grizzlies games, and it's hard to like. It depends what kind of sports fan you are, but sometimes like it's hard to legitimately feel it, in your heart for a team unless you have like a bona fide reason to.
Gotcha. Right. Right.
um, so that to steer it a little back to guys like Disaster, and I mean, he was in the movie Bodied, which we've discussed a couple times on Twitter.
Hmm.
And even though definitely like sure it's a corny movie. I will use the word corny, but like in a positive way, because in the same way that like a lot of battle rap can be corny. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I thought they did it like pretty well. And I thought like if the goal was to capture like what it was like when Kid Twist arose in King of the Dot, I think it did it pretty accurately, aside from all the like, dramatic movie details that made it a movie.
Yeah, that shit. Oh, yeah, Kid Twisted, right? That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
We've talked about
Yeah.
Kid Twist a few times. I don't know if I told you, I used to do like a battle rap blog when I was in middle school, just on like
Oh,
blog.
wow.
And I did like I would just send like certain guys like questions over like Facebook chat, and those were like the interviews I did. But one of them was Kid Twist. He's a very nice guy, and like I don't know if he knew how much it meant to me as a middle schooler to be talking to him at the time.
Okay. Yeah, he's one of my favorite
King of the Dot battles. I used to watch King of the Dot a lot when it was on World Star. I liked him, Bender, and Lil Pesci are probably my top three.
Oh, I actually used to talk to Lil Pesci a lot, which was like kind of weird, but like I really like to listen to his and Bender's music. I thought it wasn't like it wasn't some of my like favorite, but like out of the rap battle, the people out of battle rap that were making music at the time for sure, like they were like top of the class.
Yeah.
They were on a really strong level lyrically.
The group Flight Distance. Bender had a tape called Flight Distance. Yeah.
And Lopeshi and Osa were OG Hindu Kush.
Yep.
Yeah, Osa was a real, like, quotations, whatever that means, like, real rapper, what that meant to them at the time, at Blackout 2, who came back into battle rap. And, his style, transitioned really well. And,
Right.
we're seeing guys like Mad Child, like over time, it seems like even at his age, he's gotten like way better in the battle arena.
His emotional change lost.
Like, I don't know, like, I think Cassidy really, like, I like to listen to his tracks, and listening to him in a battle, like, is, feels about the same, but, like, all really strong, and it's all, like, very characteristically Cassidy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Um, all right, so oh wait, so you guys in 2018 you signed a distribution deal with Empire for Vintage '07 and Cloutville, right?
Yes, we signed one in 2018, top of 2018. We're still on there as of right now, so we're working on a couple projects. So that's an excellent thing we did. So
Yeah, so like what's that like experience been like?
it's been pretty cool. We just all we have to do is just do the music. We don't have to worry about promotion or anything. We just worry about the recording, mixing and mastering. We send it off and they handle the rest. So it's been pretty smooth.
So I guess like one question I thought of earlier today is like there's so with all the resources and platforms there are for artists that are used to handling stuff independently. Um, it seems, or it might have seemed like a stupid question, a handful of years ago, but now it's like you can have so many goals in music. If your goal is to just be a, quote, musician who makes money, there's a bunch of different ways to do that without even having to make any songs at all. And we've seen that in both MMA and in hip hop, we see, the rise of people that, know how to systematically churn out, just attention, or, the word would be clout. Um,
Right.
yeah, but it's like, what are your goals in music in an era of 2022 where there can be a billion different goals in all of music, and people can achieve every one of them because of the technology available to them.
Just to pretty much live off of music, keep making it because we love making music. Just release classic projects. Our next goal is to pretty much probably get like 1 million in streams because the most we ever got was like 500,000. So we're just trying to pretty much improve after every release. We have the formula down, so just have to keep working.
I mean, is it still crazy to you to see the amount of people that like, do listen to your music, whenever something comes out? Is it like, it's still crazy that, something you create is able to reach that many people?
Yeah, that's the power of the internet. Usually, of course, with like shows and everything like that, people they buy tickets that we don't think they are because usually when people show up to our shows, we don't really have like a high expectation, but we do, and it's always refreshing to like see people out there and people stream the music that we don't know personally. So that's what keeps us going.
So, all right. I don't know how you feel about this or not, but like, this is also an era where, as we were talking about that, we see different rappers, on different types of media every day for, stuff that is completely unrelated to their music. And that serves some people really well and it serves some people really poorly. But it seems like people are way less willing to exchange diss tracks anymore. Do you also feel like, that's a dying trend?
Yeah, they're like shying away from diss tracks and they're doing like I would say memes and everything. Now it's pretty much memes. They don't want to go ahead and put the effort in to make a diss track. Because now all you have to do is make a meme or do a retweet, and you get your point across quicker that way. So I guess the whole creative process of making diss tracks that's slowly dying down because all you do is take out your camera, and if something like unfortunate happens to the person that they're battling against, I mean not battling, sorry, they have a problem with, they're on the social media platform. So that's true.
And yeah, it's interesting because you would think that, diss tracks and battle rap would be kind of closely connected, but it seems like there's always been kind of a disconnect between those two concepts. And I take it from your tone that you maybe wish that people would put in the creative effort sometimes.
Correct.
I mean, yeah, I know you're like, a fan of diss tracks, and you know, I guess it's it because now you can get your point across way quicker. And, it's mostly about, generating a really immediate response to something that, that trumps what the other person said to you or, whatever the case may be. But some people just like can't do diss track. It's like UFC fighters that don't talk trash and it's probably for good because they can't do it. Like there's certain people that should not put that faith in, their abilities in that department.
Oh yeah, some people if they're not like they didn't come up with like battling or they're not witty or creative enough, I think they should just not say anything and just keep on doing what they do best, which is making music because you don't want to step into that realm and you're out of your comfort zone, so to say, and then it's just downhill for you from then. So the best thing to do is just ignore it and keep making the music because eventually if you ignore something, it's gonna die down. Nobody's gonna go ahead and just keep putting energy into something if for no apparent reason, especially if you're not retaliating. It's just a waste of their time. So that's the best advice I'd have for artists who are not into like going back and forth with diss tracks.
Yeah, and it's interesting how quickly our attention can be lost at a really poor diss track or, really poor exchange of them. But like those few times when a really great exchange does come up, like the summer of Remy Ma, Nicki Minaj, and
Yeah, I
Drake,
remember.
and all that business, and the exchange between Drake and Pusha T, which we've discussed a couple times. Those are special moments. I only wish there were more of them, but I guess the fact that there isn't more of them is what makes those few stand alone so high.
Mm.
Uh,
In regards to those diss tracks, the Remy Ma one came out of left field. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was like a Saturday afternoon, and the whole Twitter just went crazy.
yeah, that was like I still listen to it. I mean, to this day, and like I can't like control like the facial contortions that come up as a result of some of those bars. Like
Right.
those standalone historically. Like it's hard to see. I mean, there's those running lists of the greatest, top 50 all-time diss tracks on the internet, constantly, and they change every now and then, but it's hard to see a few of those ever exiting, the top tier of all time.
I see there. That's I'll have that probably as like top 10 of all time. I'll probably have it like in the top 20. Oh, top 10. Top 10. I have to really like think of. I would have to really go down the list for that one.
Yeah, and it's hard to say because they had. I mean, a song like Back to Back has through the power of the internet, was a cultural phenomenon when it came out. And people.
Right, it definitely was.
I mean, people were partying to that. That's something we're not as used to with this.
That's true.
But that's I guess if I had to identify one problem with diss tracks now, it's like I can't. There's no like actual diss track element. Like if anything, a lot of diss tracks I hear now from like artists coming up today sound exactly like all their other songs. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not a lot of variation. I mean, if I had to come up, I don't know. There's a lot, and they get shorter. It just seems like it really is a fading art form, but like everything else, when things like go away for a little bit, there always seems to be like a revival period.
That's true. That's very true. It usually resurfaces. It takes some time to resurface, but that always happens with everything.
So we talked a little bit about other sports that you've. I know. I know it says on. Are you also a travel blogger?
Yes. I do a lot of traveling domestically, internationally. I've been to DR, Toronto. And I took a cruise, but a lot of my travels are like through the United States.
Yeah, like what are some of the like most unique travel experiences you've had domestically?
Um, I've been to New Orleans a couple times. I've been to Los Angeles like 6 times. Los Angeles is pretty cool. It's just expensive. Um, Atlanta, I've been there. Florida. Uh, haven't been to Texas yet. I'm going there in the spring. But I've been doing travels here and there.
New Orleans is great.
Yeah.
I like. I think my top 3 favorite cities in the U.S. Like I think I'd have to say Vegas,
I've
Memphis.
been to Vegas. Yeah, Vegas is great.
I really like Memphis. I was actually in Memphis when John Calipari announced that he was leaving Memphis to come to Kentucky.
Oh wow.
I was at the Rendezvous at the time, eating dry rub ribs, and it was on the TV, and it was like, oh god, it's like I think we got to get out of Memphis.
Yeah.
But no, New Orleans was great. Like let's say, I think that I think I had an alligator omelet the first morning I was there. Like those.
Oh, that's different. That's different right there. Wow.
Yeah, alligator sausage like super spicy, but like New Orleans, like any other place, like where am I going to order alligator? Where are they going to offer alligator and a crawfish in your Bloody Mary in the morning?
Right.
Yeah, New Orleans is a great city, and like plus cities like that, like New Orleans and Memphis, where musical genres originated. There's still so many like great places to like sit down like at any given hour and hear like music from ground zero where it originated today.
That's true. I want to go there. Definitely go
Um, so a little bit about MMA. How much have you gotten to follow like the UFC over the past year? And it's you know one of the reasons we had talked about you coming on the show is like how many parallels there are between battle rap and combat sports. The one-on-one aspect, the I mean rounds straight up, the narrative that has gone into selling some of the biggest matchups in either art form. But like how much have you gotten to follow like the UFC and if any boxing over the past year or so, and over COVID when both have had a big opportunity to take the spotlight.
I follow UFC a little bit. I know of Conor, of course, Conor McGregor, Anderson Silva, George Pierre, John Jones. Those are the top 4 names. I remember when, of course, McGregor and Floyd had the fight, and everybody thought McGregor was gonna get whooped bad, but Even though he's dancing around the ring, it was entertaining.
Yeah, that's a it's like, what are you supposed to do? Floyd Mayweather, it doesn't matter if Conor McGregor was in front of him. It doesn't matter if Vladimir Klitschko or Mike Tyson was in front of him. Like, he was probably going to be able to do that dance all night against any human being on earth.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like, what do you think are the most captivating traits in a fighter, as somebody who follows the sport when they can, in between other things?
Just taking that not abuse, taking those hits and still coming to give it all they have, like cauliflower ear, eyes swelled up. Sometimes they break their bones and just after one gruesome fight, they want to go back. They do it again and again. That takes the love of the sport to do that, because those guys be taking hits.
Yeah, it's war, in that that's what people like to see, back and forth strong conflicts. And both MMA and boxing and battle rap have this part in common. There's the Bruce Buffer or the Michael Buffer character, or the organic or lush one in the middle, that, like, after a great round by somebody, and but there's black eyes and there's cuts and bleeding and it's getting intense, and in the middle, organic saying, round 2, it's on daylight, let's go. And it's like, oh
Yeah, that's true.
that's something that, like, nothing else in art or sports has, is that moment. That moment after Ilmac and Iron Solomon got done shoving each other and trying to choke each other, and it's like, bring it back and do this again.
It takes dedication, because I know if like a lot of battle rappers, well, not a lot, but sometimes, like, if they get like they lose every round and get embarrassed, or just lose like by a huge margin, some people will get discouraged and never do it again. So like, same thing with UFC. If they get beat real bad, they get discouraged and never want to do it again. But if they love the sport so much, they'll still give it their all the next go around. And that really takes love and determination.
Yeah, like, if you're Iron Solomon and you get 5-0'd against Murda Mook and take those few years off. Definitely seen that happen with a lot of fighters. And, like, to that effect, it's like, Real Deal, he's kind of like the Michael Bisping of battle rap. It's like, hanging around the middle tiers for years. He was a respected, anytime he was on the bill, it's like, I'm paying attention. But you never really thought he'd be like a championship belt holder
No,
until
I didn't.
until the last, 11:59 on the dot. And it's like, I'm glad to see that happen for him. Like,
Me too.
Real Deal, he'd been around for, so long, and he's one of those guys, like, it's hilarious, like Michael Bisping, that seemed like every time it was the big battle or the big fight, he came up just a little bit short. And for Real Deal, like, 2 out of those 3 times, I think, was thesaurus.
Yeah, he lost the source at Scribble Jam. I seen that on YouTube. The source beat him at Grizzlemania and in Scribble Jam. Yep.
Yeah, the Grizzle battle, I think, was like, in theory, for like the #1 contender spot. They were supposed to face either Surgeon General or High Collide for the grind time belt.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah.
And, wait, was it and then he lost to him and Fresco in the 2-on-2 Grand Prix, lost to HFK and Sharon. Was that
Yep,
who?
the King of the Dot. That was the King of the Dot Grand Prix. I remember that. They did, yeah.
Man, we talk about Fresco a lot. He was a really under, like, going back and watching his best of, like, videos now on YouTube. It's like, man, this guy was like just a few years too early from being really recognized for, what he was able to do.
Yeah, Fresco was he's pretty good actually. I like Fresco. His last battle was against QP Sons on at the bunker. I think he does like Twitch gaming or something like that.
Yeah, he started doing, like, what, a battle a year, like, maybe. It was real selective.
Yeah.
But it was, for a little bit of time there were guys like, Iron Solomon and Soul Khan that were arguably, some of the biggest in the game. And there was a real quick shift to where like YouTube was like the only platform to where like it was viewable in a bunch of other places, and people started talking about it in a lot of other places.
Right.
But I had a point about that. Damn it. Now, SoCon, famous. I forget. SoCon. Now I almost had it again. Right there. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. From a battle rap historian standpoint, one of the like biggest that triggered a lot of the excitement early on in grind time was that Awkward's Arsenal battle. Back in that was one of the first like East Coast versus West Coast reignitions in the battle rap stage.
Yeah, I remember that. That's when Awkward's called out T-Rex.
Yeah, that was good. I wasn't as much of a fan of his performance against T. I really liked his performance against Arsenal, and it was what I really liked about Mickey Fax's battling style in some ways is like just it was really good. No matter how you get around to it, some people are just way better at getting the point across. Like it's hard to take what you're trying to say about somebody and put it succinctly enough to where it's still entertaining to listen to.
It is.
But I think like Awkward's hit really good succinct points about, and Mickey Fax's performance against Daylight. That's something you really notice about him is like it's essayist. It's in the liking of the takeover. Where you write it out and you find a way to make it rhythmic, but it's making concrete points back to back.
Yeah, the just the whole structuring your bars and like doing it to a level where the whole crowd's gonna either catch it or think it's funny. It's a talent within its own.
All right, man. Well, it's getting pretty late. I can let you get going, but hey, really appreciate you coming on the show, man. I had a really good time. I'm glad it's always fun to get to talk about battle rap.
Absolutely.
Folks, this has been another interlude episode of Roto Bowler's official MMA podcast. Tap that. I am Brady Grove. I was here tonight with JN88, A.K.A. Relay of Cypher Clique. Go on Spotify or any place that they have music and check out Cypher Clique. I highly recommend it. Folks, we'll be back with an episode tomorrow to talk about UFC 271 this weekend. I will be on Roto Bowler's MMA DFS Premium Slack chat from 4 to 5 p.m. on Saturday. Till then, have a good one, folks. Thanks for listening.